Hello and welcome to day 2 of Myths and Mimosas. We're so excited. We had so much fun last time, maybe even too much fun. So we're back.
Hello, I hope you guys had a good weekend. We are talking about some fun topics today. Anyway, I think we're going to start things off with intonation. So raise your hand if you find it difficult to play in tune. Well, I mean, not so much anymore, but it definitely was for many years. I feel like when you are trying to play in tune, an obvious solution is to buy a tuner and look at the tuner, and then the tuner will tell you. And that is something the tuner does, yes. However, the thing is, when you play music, when you play any amount of notes, more than one note, like your tuner is not going to actually tell you that you're in tune all the time. So if you just tune your B flat and then your B flat is in tune, and then you're like, oh my gosh, how come when I play F and E flat and C and D, like the tuner is out of tune? Well, first of all, there may be other issues going on with like your embouchure, with your posture, with your breathing. All of those affect intonation too. That's important to say. But then also, even if those notes were in tune, your tuner is not going to tell you. Right, Anna? So like when you tune a major third, like you're supposed to tune the D a little bit flat to the B flat. I feel like I'm not explaining this well.
No, you're doing a great job.
Okay.
No, when we have, so like I think what I see in the like around students is that people think that the tuner is the be all end all of intonation. And while a tuner is really great for checking that your instrument's working properly, it doesn't help with intervals and tuning your band music if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why sometimes, like, if you're in a band, you might see people that have, like, their tuners on their music stand, but they're still not in tune, right?
Yep.
That's because, you can't be working with your tuner all the time. You need to know what different intervals are, because sometimes, like, when you have a passage in your music that's with a different section, and, like, are you the third? Are you the fifth? Are you the seventh? Are you the root? And all that is really important to know to be in tune. Because different intervals, for example, a major third, like Amanda was just talking about, the major third is actually supposed to be flat. So not in tune. So it shouldn't be in tune on the tuner. What? I know. And some of you might already know this. But yeah, every interval has a different way of tuning. So just playing it with the tuner doesn't cut it. And that's where music theory comes in.
Yep. So with music theory,
oh, and good morning to everyone watching.
Oh, hi.
So nice to see all of you.
If you just joined or are watching this later, or whenever, just comment and say hi so we know who's watching. We are lurking in the Facebook group constantly, and we love saying hi. So also let us know if you have any questions about intonation or anything else, that we could clear up today. But yeah, I mean, like at Woodman Academy, we teach all the different intervals, major sixth, minor sixth, minor second, perfect fifth, there's a ton. But we focus on tuning intervals that are applicable to chords, because when you're playing music with other people, it's written in chords. Like you're in thirds with other people in your band basically all the time in order to create this beautiful thing called harmony. Mm-hmm. So like at Woodman Academy, you get really good at recognizing those intervals and then learning to adjust to them on the spot. So like the other day, honestly, Anna and I were talking about major thirds, and we're like, okay, is it supposed to be tuned flat or sharp? And to be honest with you, I forgot in the moment because I'm so used to just automatically adjusting. I always adjust when I play a B flat and then a D right after, I always adjust my D down a little bit because I'm so used to it, because I know that I have to in order to make the two notes be in tune. So I was like, oh, wait, what do I do? Oh, yeah, that's right. I make it flat. So all of these things, can become really automatic for you. That's why we
Yeah.
teach improv. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and the goal is to, like, so you don't have to be sitting there like, oh, minus 13 cents on the tuner. Like, no, you'll already be able to hear it. And that's also something that we also like teaching about improvisation. And a lot of, we'll be getting more spicy about this tomorrow. But a lot of the time, musicians, especially classical musicians, are like, oh, I don't need to learn improvisation. This doesn't apply to me. But improvisation is really just about creating melodies and ear training, right? So that all helps intonation and technique and being in tune. So all these things are things that you might not think about that you need in your practice routine. But that's also why, music school, we have like 4 years of music theory. Not everyone's required to take improvisation, which is why that's kind of a special extra thing that we found super helpful. And yeah, kind of just by doing a bunch of surveys with adults and from our students, we're like, these things are really helpful. Like, we're seeing results from people learn music theory, like knowing how to tune with your band and not feeling like, what am I doing? It just sounds bad and I don't know what to do. And yeah, I also have a funny story about a tuner and also Amazon. So sometimes with a tuner, so this is also why just developing your ear is really important away from the tuner. I had a student whose tuner was, you know how it's like calibrated at 440 or whatever hertz? That can, so anyway, that's just like kind of the baseline that bands or orchestras tune at or whatever. If that gets adjusted, like, so the, it had like fallen in his backpack and was like at 430. So he thought he was like really like out of tune, but the tuner was just messed up. So that's why having an ear awareness is so important, because when weird things like that happen, you can trust yourself. We can't always rely on our little tuner.
Yeah, or like when you're in concert and you can't bring your tuner on stage with you, or like you're trying to tune with everyone else. Here's a big one. You're trying to tune with everyone else, like when you're doing that B flat warm-up note before you start your concert, and you have your tuner out and it says everyone is flat or everyone is sharp, and you're like, oh no. Like, if you have that ear awareness to hear whether or not you're in tune with other people, that's all that ultimately matters, because newsflash, people are going to go out of tune throughout the concert, no matter how well you tuned beforehand.
Yeah,
so
and doesn't matter if you're with the tuner, you're going to sound bad. I mean, you can just like hold up your tuner to the audience, I guess, but
but the audience might be like, who is holding up that tiny rectangle? Why is it important?
Yeah, so that's like something that's really important. That's why knowing music theory and knowing what intervals are is super important for intonation. Yeah, and it's just, we want you to get to that point where you just are able to hear and be aware. Yeah, and I mean, all music is music theory, right? Like, all the notes and all the scales all relate to another. And then also in music theory, there's phrasing, like, how do these 4 bars relate to these next 4 bars? Yeah, so that's a myth that, because we've actually heard this a lot. Musicians thinking that they don't need to learn music theory because it doesn't actually help them be a better musician. And we're not talking like, Amanda and I don't teach boring music theory. We teach fun music theory. So we're not going to be like, oh, let's sit and learn this 12-tone row. No, we're going to like, we teach how it applies directly to music. Yeah. So, okay, also about intonation, this is kind of a funny tangent, but I also wanted to talk about instruments on Amazon. Okay, so kind of related to intonation is also like, it's so important being able to see someone like individually and not just like be watching videos on YouTube or whatever about intonation and practicing, because you might be doing something wrong and not know. For example, Amanda, you're gonna laugh at this story, but I teach needing flute lessons sometimes, and sometimes I have students that have bought flutes on Amazon. How do you feel about flutes on Amazon, Amanda?
So you get what you pay for. Honestly, so if you spend $100 buying a flute on Amazon and choose to do that instead of spend $1,000 on a flute from a local music shop, you know, it might be obvious, but the Amazon flute isn't going to be as high quality. So things are going to happen to it. For example,
intonation.
It might be very out of tune, and you might be like, why is this? Well, I mean, to be honest with you, instruments are hard to make. Like, and especially with the flute, like the overall design of it, like, if something's slightly off with, like, the way the tube is, like, you're going to be out of tune. If something's slightly off with, like, the temperament of the metal, you're going to be out of tune. I mean, so having a good instrument is important. We could definitely, we're happy to talk more about that. We actually have a master class at Woodland Academy about it too. Exciting. But yeah, I mean, it's the same with anything. Like, when you invest more, then you're going to get a better result. And I mean, I feel like I've had a few students get flutes on Amazon, and
it's blue, and it like comes with gloves. At least the clarinet is blue. How are you supposed to play the clarinet with gloves?
I didn't know the clarinet came with gloves.
It comes with gloves that you're supposed to play the open holes of the clarinet with, and on the saxophone, so that you don't...
Is it because, like, there's a coating on the metal that comes off? Like,
I don't know. I just know that I want to just smash it.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, as with anything, like, you want to make sure that you have good equipment, and you also want to make sure that you're doing things right, because the two go hand in hand. And also, here's an opposite story from the Amazon story that you just told.
Okay.
I have met students in the past who say, oh my God, like, I need a lesson. I need help picking out a flute because I have so much trouble with technique and intonation, and my tone is not great, and I need to upgrade my flute and pay thousands of dollars for a new flute in order to get better at these things. All right, that, I am busting that. My mom, actually, both our parents are musicians. So, like, my mom is a musician, and, you know, like, obviously she had an influence on me growing up because I wanted to be a musician too. And she always told me when I was, like, sad, because I was like, why don't I have a gold mouthpiece like my friend does? It's so sparkly. I want it. And she's just like, Amanda, it's the player, not the flute. And I think about that. I mean, obviously, if you buy, like, a terrible instrument on Amazon, like, it's not gonna work. But you know, if you're upset that you don't have, like, a fancier flute when you already have one that was professionally made, like, it's you. Like, you can improve things about like I could play on any flute and make it sound good. Maybe not an Amazon flute, but, like, I don't have to, like, have a $20,000 flute in order to sound good.
Should I give...
like, what?
I'll because I feel like Amanda's being nice and not sharing my personal story. I'm just gonna share it. Okay, so this is my story with Amanda's flute. So yes, we want to make sure that we don't have an instrument on Amazon because those aren't actually, to be honest, those aren't they're not made with instrument specifications. They're like toys, essentially. Okay, so anyway, back to the story of the flute. So it's the player, not the flute. For example, Amanda came to Indiana, and we were just hanging out, playing Woodland Academy stuff, fun girls work weekend. And Amanda brought her Brandon flute, her very, very nice, fancy Brandon flute. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to sound incredible. Spoiler alert, I sounded the exact same expensive flute than I did on my really nice intermediate flute. So, yeah.
Yes.
And Amanda sounded just as good on my flute as well. Right? It was actually
Yeah.
very sad. It was a sad experience.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Anna, I don't know how to play clarinet at all. So
That is true. So yeah, I mean, at some point, like, you know, I think sometimes we see with students, it's like you want to keep upgrading and upgrading, and then refusing to kind of, you know, just acknowledge that it might be you, and that's okay to acknowledge that it might be you. You know.
If you have to, no, like, to be honest with you, unless you're playing a toy from Amazon, if you had to choose between investing $1,000 in a new instrument and $1,000 in Woodman Academy to make sure that you're actually playing the instrument in all the ways that are correct, I would invest in the Woodman Academy. I mean, this isn't even a plug for us, but like, honestly, I've seen so many people upgrade and then have the same exact issues. And like, I don't want you stressed about having to do that when like you could like solve the problems yourself, like on your own time, and then sound good on any instrument you want to play, except for the toy flute on Amazon. But like, yeah, I mean, that is so rewarding and fun and awesome. Like, just throughout the years when I started to like, you know, I used to have like a lot of problems with my hands. I had tendonitis for a lot of years, and just like, you know, I don't know. I think I went on a ramble about that yesterday, but like when I got to a point where like I was doing everything correctly and I could play on any flute and I could just go to a local flute fair and then play on all the gold flutes for fun, like, and sound fine on everything. Like, that was really empowering and awesome because like it was me. Like, I felt like I was happy with my playing for me. And that's what Woodman Academy is about too. Like, we don't want to make you spend thousands of dollars on a new instrument. We want to help you feel empowered with the equipment you already have.
Yeah.
And on anything.
And feel free to send us an email if you have questions about, like, you know, if you're playing on an Amazon instrument or whatever, or just, you know, need some advice on how to go forward. We love getting emails and we love connecting with our community. So yeah, that's the Amazon email. Because yeah. Let's see. What other myths should we bust today, Amanda?
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna pick a fun one.
We have like a whole list of myths that we've heard from our students and also that we've like seen on YouTube. Yeah, and if you have a myth that you want busted, feel free to comment or email us as well. But yeah, the music theory thing, we really wanted to talk about that today with ear training because that's something that's really important for us.
Can we talk about how like you can have the same, okay, so I feel like a lot of adults in our community are self-taught. And that's awesome. Like, the internet is a beautiful thing. You can just go to YouTube and like get information about like how to hold the flute, how to play a note, how to play this note, and then you can buy, you know, beginner books that sort of guide you through like getting a sound out, like learning the fingerings and all that. But like at a certain point, it gets a little bit hard to teach yourself. For example, with flute, one of the big topics that is hard to teach yourself is articulation. So,
that's so hard. Well, on every instrument, it's different on single reeds, double reeds, flute, like it's all different. So for doublers too, I mean, that was something that was really hard for me was transitioning to flute. I was trying to tongue it like a saxophone. I was like going,
I had a student self-teach for like 2 years, and then he came to me and we were trying to get him to like play faster, get his tongue moving faster, because, you know, especially on the flute, like you can tongue really fast, because, you know, double tonguing exists too. So we can go really fast.
Ooh, it was impressive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you. It's easy once you get the hang of it. And there's a whole double tonguing unit at Woodman Academy for the Woodman Academy flutes that are watching this.
Yeah. And I can double tongue on clarinet and saxophone too, but more importantly for us, another myth, sorry, is that you need to learn how to double tongue to have fast articulation. Double tonguing is really important on flute. On clarinet and saxophone, you can learn it, but you need to get your single tongue speed up. Because like, if you have a very slow single tongue speed, you will not be able to double tongue. I mean, that goes for all.
To be honest, Anna can single tongue faster than I can because I was too lazy to learn it because of double tonguing.
It's way easier on flute. Like, yeah, and I a lot of my students want to learn double tonguing, and I'm like, okay, I have like a certain single tongue speed that I have everyone be at before they need to learn the double tongue, which is really fast actually, which is like, honestly, it should be between 130 and 140 before being able to double tongue. Yeah, well,
single tongue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's a rant for another day, but
well, that's beautiful.
Myth busted.
Especially because we see a lot of like clarinet players asking about learning how to double tongue, and it's like, wait, do you need to? How fast can you single tongue?
Pretty much everyone that's ever asked me to double tongue does not have to. There's even not every professional clarinetist or saxophonist knows how to double tongue and is fine. So,
cool. Okay. But anyway, so back to the flute player, who was self-taught for 2 years and came to me. We were trying to get him to tongue faster. Turns out he was tonguing wrong. Like, he just had learned how to tongue wrong for 2 years. So hooray for that. But then also, this is why self-teaching can sometimes, like, you reach a point where you should work with a professional who is an experienced teacher and can point out these things to you, because it took a few months to relearn tonguing. And still to this day, there are like instances where, like, especially if you're playing like an old piece that you practiced for months with the wrong tonguing, like, you want to go back into that old habit. So yeah, practicing for years and then doing like a couple things the wrong way, like, is so easy to do because these instruments are so super detailed. Like, how do you look on YouTube or through like instrument books to figure out like if your tongue is like 3 millimeters off from where it's supposed to be when you're using it?
The other thing that makes me irritated too is like, it's so important to be able to get help from a professional person who's gone to music school, who's studied their instrument. There's so many people online and on YouTube. I feel like I just keep hating on YouTube. I mean, we're on YouTube, but that's not our main goal here. That there's people that are teaching this stuff that are not musically trained. They are like, maybe they've played it for a year, or they're band directors that double and they're doing videos on all the instruments. It's really important to be learning from a professional person who's studied the thing and is making good information. We work really hard on our instruments and making like good content, and that's kind of why, I mean, that's the whole reason we're doing this whole Mythbusters video, is because there's so much bad advice out there and people are learning, especially if people are self-taught. They're learning these things, they're seeing these things on YouTube. I mean, one of the things I was telling you about is I had a saxophone student who, I don't know what channel this was, hopefully it's deleted by now, but they were playing saxophone with the mouthpiece backwards because that's what it told them to do on YouTube. I kid you not. Like, I don't know what channel this was. Maybe it was like a joke channel or whatever, or maybe it was like a technique, but like, can you imagine spending like a whole year playing saxophone with the mouthpiece backwards? Like, I mean, that's so, and that wastes your practice time. I could go on about that all day.
I can't imagine that because I don't know how to play saxophone. But the thing about saxophones is like, the fingering is really similar to flute. So
yes, it is.
Okay, here's the story for you. When Anna and I were doing our little like girls trip work vacation thing where like we played each other's flutes, we also, in a photo shoot, she held up her saxophone and she was like, Amanda, what's wrong with my saxophone? And I was like, there's nothing wrong with your saxophone. And you had put the mouthpiece on backwards.
I'll post the picture in the comments. It was really bad. It's really bad.
But I could get on there and teach saxophone fingerings because they're the same as flute. But I would demonstrate it on a saxophone with the mouthpiece on backwards because
That's what's going on, though. That's what's going on. That's what's on YouTube, and these are these popular channels. It's really sad, and that's just why. That's why we do what we do, because we want to provide good content. That's out there, and we think We'd like to think that we know what we're talking about after many years in music school and many years fixing students' problems, who we love. Yeah, so that's kind of the myths for today that we were thinking about. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking more about, we're really excited to talk more about ear training and some myths about things related to that.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about ear training and how important it is, how you need to go about doing it, what you need to do to learn it. I think it's another topic, just like music theory, that people kind of gloss over because they're just like, I don't know, you just learn the fingerings and learn how to make a sound and then you're good. But ultimately, like, you're going to have situations that come up that you would benefit from knowing ear training, and it just makes your music playing so much better. So yeah, we're going to talk all about that and also share some more funny stories.
Yeah.
But thank you for watching today, and
I'll share my spoiler. I'll share the story of my Juilliard audition.
Oh my god, I love it.
It's very related to ear training. It basically, yeah. Well, that's all the spoilers you need. I'm gonna be telling the truth.
Man, I feel like there's a cliffhanger because I don't know the story and I can't wait for tomorrow.
You'll have to wait, Amanda.
Okay.
Well, thanks for watching. Remember to comment on the videos, like it, and also share our Woodwind support community with your friends for your chance to win a lovely Starbucks gift card. We all need some coffee in our lives. And we're super excited for our last day of Miss and Mimosas tomorrow and our pre-sale event for Woodwind Academy that we're going to launch. We're really excited to share about that. We already have some sign-ups, which is super exciting. So anyway, we can't wait to see you tomorrow. And if you have any other myths you want busted, just let us know.
Yay. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.